Batra Daf by the top. Amar Mimar says, Hilchata the halacha is otir niknot b'msira kirebi. That when you're selling letters of IOU notes, debt documents, you could hand it over just enough. You don't need a sale document as well. Amar Rashi Mimar, yeah, Rashi said, are you saying that's what you heard from your rabbi and that's our minhag? Or you have logic to back it up? Amar Lei says, Gemara, it's what I heard from my rabbi. Rashi says, okay, so I also have a logical way to get to that point. The otiot milleninu or mil b'mililo niknin, because words on the document is merely words, and therefore, if I write a document of words about the words in the paper, it doesn't acquire anything. It doesn't do anything differently. Therefore, if you hand over the paper itself, that's good enough. The Gemara says, okay, you had to bring that in. We're going to knock you out on that. Below? What do you mean? There are two halachot regarding to documents. If the owner of a field told two people, acquire this field for someone else. The ketvudo tashtar, and write him a document saying that I'm giving it to him. Jose Bashtar, you can retract regarding the document. He doesn't have to hand him the title. But in Jose Bashtar, you can't retract regarding the transfer of the field because they immediately acquired it from him. Now, if he said if he says on condition that you write him a document and give it to him, Jose ben Bashtar ben Bashtar, then he can retract them both because they're tied in together. And really, there are three halachot in the document. Today, Hadamram, we just mentioned two. Idach, the third halacha is Im kadam mocher the seller beforehand wrote the document of a sale. Like that which we had in the Mishnah, you can write a document for a sale even if there's no buyer. Meaning, in general, we don't write documents unless all parties involved are there and agreeing to it. But if you want to pre-write a document because of an incoming sale you want to do, if you want to pre-write the document because you want to sell something, you can pre-write it. Even though generally we don't pre-write documents in general. Kevin Shazib the Karka. Then you sold the field and the guy does a hazakan, he does an act on it. He acquires the document wherever it is. This we also learned elsewhere. Movable objects can be acquired with real estate. Vice versa doesn't work. Because if hazakan, you can acquire the real estate with money, document, or hazakah. So we see from here that even if you're not doing a hazakah on the document, you can acquire it via hazakah on the land. So we see that even though it's just words, quote unquote, you can acquire it elsewhere. The Gemara says, no, you can't bring a proof from there. Agav shani. Acquiring something via something else is different. Meaning, in general, yes, we might say according to the Rashi that you can acquire words. In the case that we just brought, however, if you're acquiring something through the document, through real estate, if I'm selling you something, I have something on my land, for example, I'm selling you the land, you're going to acquire the item through the land, that's different. Because they had a case of a coin. We know that money cannot be acquired through halipin, lifting something and acquiring something elsewhere. But you can acquire money through land, through halipin. If I do halipin on land, I lift up this handkerchief, I'm acquiring the land, I can acquire anything through the land as well. This famous story, Papa had 12,000 dinars that someone owed him. Someone was watching for him in a different city. Papa transferred the money to Rav Shmuel via a small portion of his house through the land. And Kiyatam and Rav Shmuel came back with the money to bring it to him because the guy otherwise didn't want to give it to Rav Shmuel because he wasn't the owner. So he transferred the ownership to Rav Shmuel. And when Rav Shmuel returned, Rav Papa was so happy that he was bringing it back. He went to the city Tavach to greet him halfway through because that was on the way back. So we see from here that the fact that he went to go to greet him showed that it was a good transfer. And we see that acquiring via land is different than just acquiring just a document of words. Okay. Our Mishnah said that if you sold the boat, you don't sell the slaves, you don't sell the sacks, and not the antiki. We mentioned antiki is what my antiki and the merchandise, the cargo is not automatically sold. Okay, new Mishnah. Machar takaron, if you sell a wagon to your friend, the mules that pull it are not included. Machar, if you sold the mules, you don't sell the wagon. Machar the if you sold the yoke of the animal to the friend, lo machar the bakar, the oxen are not sold. Machar the bakar, if you sold the oxen, lo machar the yoke's not included. Right? So in both cases, the other one's not included. Rabbi Damar says, the purchase price is the indicator of what is being sold. What does it mean? If the buyer told the seller, I'm selling your yoke for 200 zuz, a lot of money. Everybody knows that the yoke is not worth 200 zuz. Right? It's like, oh, I'm buying your pen for $100. Obviously, something else is included, and therefore, in this case of the yoke, obviously, you're trying to buy the oxen as well. The Hachamim say no. Purchase price is not approved. Maybe you're overpaying it on purpose, and you want to give them the money. Okay, sell the Brighton in front of a vow. You sell the wagon, you do sell the mules. Question is, our Mishnah says that you do not sell the mules with the wagon. Amalei answers not. Tachlifa says, okay, should I delete the Brighton because it's against the Mishnah? Should I delete this? Like, are you sure you want to delete this program? Amalei, no, don't delete it. The difference in the case of the Braita is because the mules in the case over there were attached to the wagon at the time. And therefore, I want to sell you the wagon, pointing to the wagon with the oxen attached. In that case, the mules are attached. In that case, it's sold. But if they're not attached, then it's not sold. That's the case of our Mishnah where it's not sold. If you sold the yoke, you don't sell the oxen. So, what's going on? What's the case of the machloket regarding purchase price indicator? If you're saying the place they sold it, the yoke's called a yoke and the oxen are called oxen, and they're not mixed together. It's obvious. I only sold you the yoke and not the oxen. I never mentioned the oxen. Now, if it's a place where you sell the oxen and the oxen are also called yoke, and therefore it could have meant both and as a high price, then even Hachamim should agree that the high price shows that you're trying to sell the oxen as well. The Gemara says no. It's in a place where most people call the yoke, yoke, and oxen, they don't mix it. However, and some people, however, also call the oxen the yoke. In that case, Rabbi holds, okay, let's look at the price. If the price is high, obviously try to include the oxen. But Hamim hold, the purchase price is not approved because maybe the guy is just trying to overpay for the yoke as a gift. Now, the Gemara says, if the purchase price is not a proof that it's included, maybe the overcharge should be should make the sale fall apart. Because if you're overcharging for something, then the sale should fall apart. The sale should be canceled. Maybe you might say Hachamim don't hold that in the case of price fraud of overcharging. There's no such thing as a cancellation of a sale. Someone selling a Torah, a Sefer Torah, an animal, or a jewel. In those cases, there's no such thing as price fraud, but all those things are sentimental and or have intrinsic value, and therefore, if you overcharge for it, there's no such thing as overcharging. You can charge any amount you want, and there's no cancellation of sale. Hamim said, Lo amru ela et elu. The only cases is those cases where you can overcharge. Any other case they overcharge can have a cancellation of sale. So we see in our case, how can Hachamim say in our Mishnah that there is no cancellation of sale seemingly? Gemara says no. When the Mishnah says, the Hachamim say that the purchase price is not a proof that you sold it, doesn't mean that the sale goes through and you don't get the oxen, but rather you can cancel the sale. We have another answer. When did Hachamim say that there's a price fraud, there's a cancellation of sale? In the case where you can make a mistake on the sale and you overcharged a little bit. In that case, you can get a refund. In the case over here, for example, where you're paying $1 million for an ox or a yoke, you're obviously overpaying on purpose. In that case, we say it's a gift and you can't retract. Okay, new Mishnah. If you're selling a donkey, you don't sell the gear. Looks like what that is. You do sell the gear. Sometimes the gear is sold. Sometimes the gear is not sold. It depends on the sale. Okay, so what does it mean? If the donkey was in front of him with the gear on it, to the owner, sell me this donkey, the gear is sold. If he says just donkey, don't sell me the whole donkey and everything, he just says donkey, and the gear is not included, just the donkey is sold.